We still got a minute, but we'll start whenever you'd like, in. Now 8:30.
You got it. I think. And we have a quorum, so.
Yep.
Right, sounds good.
I think Jason will be joining us. I think he just got off a call late, so.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 8th, 2023 City of Geneva IDA meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business is some administrative reports, the minutes from the August 2023 meeting. Like a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second. Is there any discussion about them? Can someone approve them that wasn't here? Okay. Okay. Any corrections or? Tracy's minutes are very good because she has got a good recorder.
I do not do the minutes, actually.
You had to do that?
Emma does. that.
Emma.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank her for it. But I agree.
I will let her know that you're impressed.
Okay, very good. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, it's passed. Thank you. Motion to approve the financial reports. So Tracy, can you give us the financial reports.
Sure. So last month's finances on the P&L, you see the $12,000, the additional $12,000 for the roof work, which has been completed. We'll talk a little bit more about that during the GEDC update. There's some charges related to the MRB group. So both the July charges and the August charges kind of ended up in August. So that's why that looks so high. But otherwise, that's all that's on the P&L.
Okay. Have a motion to approve these minutes.
I'll move that.
Irene, second.
Oh, sorry, second, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, we have some updates. Maureen, I see you're on the call today. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to tell us how the school year is starting off. You're muted, Maureen.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. We are off to a great start. Everyone has arrived safe. Kids are excited to be here. Still working out some busing problems in the afternoon, but we'll get it figured out. You know, it's hard. Parents don't. There's a particular group of parents that don't want to be out there to pick up their kids. So we're working through it. We'll get it all figured out. And we did substantial capital projects around the district all summer. A lot of paving inside of the buildings. We did some work here at North Street down in the lower level. Next year, the high school will be under a lot of renovation. But the outside infrastructure is what we really focused on this year for the most part. And so we're really pleased with it. And we continue to improve our schools, which improves everything across the city, and the values that everyone holds, so that they will move here to the city, so that they see, you know, that we have a good school system. And we're just really pleased. Our bus drivers are being recognized today because they do an outstanding job. And our maintenance crew, our grounds and buildings and grounds crew, just worked really hard this summer. So we're trying to recognize all of them. So I think that's about it. We're going to continue on with some work outside of the high school main entrance. That is being delayed right now due to supply chain issues. So we hope to have that open by November.
Good. Any questions, Maureen? Thank you again, Maureen, for joining us. We appreciate the update. Miles, I see you're on the call. GEDC report. How are we doing over there?
Yeah, just finished that roofing project. That went well and got tested by some of these torrential rains we had. So that has been a welcome site for a bunch of tenants there that were kind of affected adversely because of the roof. So that's been great. Still waiting for some friends of ours to kind of move out of the building there, so we have those spaces freed up. We still have some potential tenants in the wings that we can't do much with until those spaces open up, and we still have had some good showings in the summer. I think one of them stuck. A few more are just, waiting to make some decisions on their business plans and that kind of stuff. So we're still in a holding pattern with that. And that's about it for the moment.
And in addition, speaking of the roofing project, the total roofing cost came out to 24,000. The IDA had approved 20,000. I think Michael, oh Miles can talk to the reason for that, but he would like to request the additional $4,000 to complete payment to the roofing contractor from the IDA.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason there's a lot of, once you start excavating that site and there's plywood and insulation board and some other just hidden stuff that we had to deal with. And it was quite labor intensive because you can't get a dumpster near it. So they worked well with all that stuff. They had to hand walk all the debris from one end all the way over to the other. And, they didn't complain. They did their job, but there was some extras when we were done that we need to account for. That's what that extra 4 is for.
As long as he feels that they're valid, and he sees extra work, real extra
Yeah.
work, then I'm okay with that.
So you make a motion to.
I would move that we pay the contractor the extra $4,000.
Okay. I said it's 4 plus a little bit,
Nope, it's 4 even.
or even.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Have a second on the motion? Second, RJ. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Miles, thank you for the work there. You said that some of the cleanup in some of those spaces is moving along.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think we're October sometime for
Okay.
a few of them that have committed to move out.
that sounds good. All right, thank you. Any questions of Miles before we complete his part? Okay. All right, thanks, Miles.
Thank you.
Committee reports.
So the governance committee met last week and we'll deal with this at the annual meeting next month, but recommended ratifying all of the governance policies as is. The finance committee was supposed to meet this morning, didn't really, but we'll talk about basically the point of that meeting was to talk about the budget, which is later on in the agenda. And then we have the upcoming nominating committee and GDC committee meetings on the calendar. They are scheduled.
All right, that's good. Any questions? Okay, Amy, city council report.
Sure. So city council met on Wednesday. Some focus areas for this group is short-term rental ordinance is moving through and being processed, and David helped lead through that first reading of the ordinance and get us moving closer on that. They also will be meeting on the zoning update on Tuesday, September 12th at 6 p.m. They'll do a work session. I think that work session will be here. So hopefully they are hoping to move that zoning update to Ontario County before the end of the year. I don't know if it'll be fully completed, but that's the goal at this point. As well as the short-term rental. In theory, short-term rental ordinance could be adopted at the next meeting. That'll be the second reading, and so they could adopt it at that time. Some minor changes, I think, between now and then will occur, but they are looking at that. The other September meeting is budget. So our budget will come out on September 26th at 7 p.m. and then council will go into work sessions, weekly work sessions. As long as it takes, they have to adopt a budget before the end of October. Budget message that the comptroller and I sent to all departments were for a 12% reduction across the board. That 12% reduction would attempt to keep our tax rate at 0%. Acknowledging costs have increased, all the other pieces of our businesses increased. And so even with a 12% reduction, that's an attempt to try to maintain what we have. I can't guarantee that would maintain all services. So as we go through the budget process, we'll talk about what services can and cannot fit within our city budget.
Okay, any questions of Amy?
Just a quick one on the short-term rental.
Mhm.
Surrounding my house are short-term rentals. And do those owners, are they aware of the changes, or are they aware of, not changes, but the new ordinance?
Would say the ones surrounding your house are very aware because we've heard from them. But so we'll continue to push out information on it. This has been legislation that started before my time, but this year really has been heating up. What will happen is once legislation is adopted, they'll all be notified. They'll have a compliance period that they will have to be a part of the application process. I'm just going to say application right now because I'm not sure what form that's going to look like. So they'll be notified, as many as we can notify. There's different services that we can purchase to help us do that. And then we'll go from there. It does include things like having review, so that way we know what the properties are. They have to apply for whatever it may be, a permit or a license or whatever else it may be, but they have to comply with code enforcement as well. So it'll definitely change how short-term rentals are viewed in the city. I can't guarantee what that looks like between here and there. I think David and I got a couple curveballs, less me, more David. So I don't know, David, if you have anything else to add about short-term rentals.
Just that I think the purpose of the law as it is now was to take it out of the zoning update, which I've been a part of for 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
So it's been part of this larger thing, pulling it out to try to pass it faster than the rest of the zoning. It includes some requirements, some flexibility, but really addresses concerns people have had about large parties, about really big groups squeezing into spaces and neighborhoods. My sense is that the city also wants to be accommodating. Isn't trying to ban this use, isn't trying to make it so that people who are doing it now can't do it if they're doing a good job. So there will be probably a site plan review or special use permit process and an operating license that you apply for. The operating license can be revoked if you're not following the rules, basically. So that's a way that the city has a little more power to take away the right to have this kind of business from people who are not doing it well and are being bad neighbors.
It does not include any occupancy tax, nor does the county's policy, despite the paper saying that it does and that I said it did. The county's does not currently include occupancy tax for short-term rentals over 4 units. And that is something that both entities would have to go through home rule legislation on. So we took that out at this point, but it's something we can build in the future and we need to work through that in the future.
So the number that was in the paper, I think it said 30 properties. Is that all there are? Did I read that right or no?
I would guess there's probably around 200.
Yeah, there's around 200 is what we're estimating.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It was 30.
David hasn't had a chance yet. It's his first appearance in the paper, but we're going to review it. And then if there's any updates, we'll send them off this afternoon.
What is short term? 2 days?
30
30 days?
30 days.
30.
Less than 30.
So rental to students.
No.
Not included. Oh. That's also a fun part of living in the city, what the students do and
Yep.
how they occupy the house. I don't know if that's covered.
Yeah, so it's covered by fair housing law. Because you can't determine that based on, you can determine things based on the use of the home. And so you can have areas that don't allow congregate living, things like that. But you can't determine who rents that property. And so that's the challenge.
I have no problem with who, but how is
Oh, that was
the next question.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Amy. Tracy, IDA projects,
Yeah, so the only update I have is Nardozzi is working towards, there's a little bit of confusion on my part, and then because of my part, the legals part, but we're gonna have 2 separate closings for that project, one on the land, which he's gonna pay cash for, and then a second closing for his financing and the IDA benefits. This will come up in the budget discussion because that's probably not going to happen until the next fiscal year, since we're into September now. But it seems like things are moving along. I don't know if,
His attorney is not super responsive.
yeah, I think his attorney is talking to Bob, because Bob's handling the land sale.
Okay.
So I think there's communication happening on that side.
Okay.
but Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
I'm not getting much.
Yeah.
I'm all good on my end. I'm like, does that mean you have comments to my document? So,
I think we'll get there.
yes.
But his priority is getting the land closed.
Yeah.
I did get an email from Bob yesterday, regarding some of the deed documents, so we're trying to track down some additional information, but,
So you think it'll be like a court Q1 close for the IDA side of things?
I mean, it could be well, Q1 for fiscal year, so our fiscal year
Your
switches
September 30th.
over.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why I'm thinking it's gonna go into the
Okay.
fiscal year at this point, so. So yeah, other than that, we haven't heard anything else from Trinity since the last meeting. I think he's still working through his stuff, and then, but we'll expect a new application from him, and nothing else kind of hanging out right now.
That's good. Okay, some new business we have, we're gonna be talking about the GDC management agreement, with, Webster Properties. We could, a motion to approve and then we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Like the motion to approve the agreed, it's a 2-year, agreement, going to September 30th, 2025. Motion,
So moved.
Irene.
Second.
It's open for discussion now.
Yeah,
Tracy,
so
take us through this.
the current management agreement expires September 30th, which I did not realize. I just found out. But so the Websters put together a new management agreement. You could theoretically RFP it if you wanted to. Changing management companies is a hassle, and for the most part, they seem to be managing pretty well. But that is obviously up to you as a board. If you would like to retain them for another 3 years, this contract does include a clause for whether or not, or what happens if you decide to sell the building. So there's language in there about that. And then there were 2 minor changes since you saw it. Emma reviewed it and made some suggestions. And then they also noticed that Sage was still in there as the contact, so we switched that to David. Lucky you, skipped right over me. And then also Emma noted that the language around the marketing expenses or the advertising expenses didn't include anything to ensure that you know what they're spending. So we just updated that language to ensure that your approval of advertising expenses includes an approximate price. So you kind of have a not to exceed that you're working on, as opposed to them saying, we're going to advertise and then have an unknown number, which has never been a problem as I understand it, but it's just good to have that in writing and clarified.
I did not review the previous management agreement. Can we talk about if there were changes to the compensation piece?
Oh, yes.
Is it changed at all or?
So the percentage of the compensation did increase, the percentage increased a little bit. In the last one, I'll just pull it up here. Sorry, I should have made a note of that because I meant to talk about it.
Sent me an email with the change, I think, too. That helps.
So it was 7%. The monthly fee based on gross rents was 7%, and I think it went up to
8.5.
8.5.
And we were already paying commissions and procurement fees and
Yes,
for that staffing. That's all. That was all in the original one too.
yes.
Just to come.
Yeah, I don't think anything else under the compensation changed, just that 7 to 8.5.
Any other questions?
Another question.
Great.
So my only concern with this is that it is 2 years and the part A of Article 3, that their job is to manage business incubation. It's kind of
Oh,
my
yeah.
understanding that they're managing the space well, but not really having a business incubation program,
Correct.
doing much around that. It seems like this contract says that they would then be the sole and exclusive person who could provide incubation services.
I think that would be fine if we wanted to scrap that.
Yeah,
I think they would be fine with that. That was in the original one, so just kind of carried over.
It was something that was, they were supposed to actually do quite a bit more promotion of the space. And Teresa Angelo, before she left the board a year
Yeah.
ago, was saying whatever happened with that.
yeah,
She's questioned me on it, that they never really, they're supposed to do some marketing in the sense of coming out, you know, they said, well, it's on our website. We put a place on our website and stuff, and when they were kind of closed it, and we did close it at one point, but it was not promoted to the extent that at least I was led to believe they were going to.
Mhm.
They had, and what's her name? They had the place right across the
Yep,
street.
yep.
Her,
Yep, her.
she came to the presentation and was kind of, you know, that was part of their stick, and that one of the reasons we chose them.
Mhm.
There's two other applicants, Mark, I guess Massive applied again, and then and Kuso. And we chose them because it's all about the same amount of money. We chose them because the marketing aspect, we thought that would be good.
Mhm.
Because we were not actually doing much about it, our stores. And as far as I can see, I see Miles has left. As far as I can see, very little was done.
I can send you the information about the marketing that they provided when we brought this up last time, just kind of outlining the work they did do.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's not really an incubation program other than kind of subsidized rents. So I think if we wanted to scrap that from this contract. And, you know, if we wanted to keep the building, look for someone that has a little more experience in that realm, that would probably not be.
And that was another thing that we've talked about here is having a schedule of how we subsidize the rents, because there are many people using it that aren't incubating their business. You know, it's clearly not. So there should be some rules around that so that we can make a decision. Then we vote on, okay, we're going to give you a 50% cut for the first 2 years, and maybe kind of like we do a pilot and stretch it out so that we can help them grow. But like I said, there's Lions Bank is using it for storage, and they certainly don't need a cut and pay. I mean, they're there because it's cheap storage.
Right.
That's why they, you know, and they certainly would pay more, sure, if it was there. So I think between those things, the city should pay more too, by the way.
How's that gonna help with your total?
So I think once the GDC committee kind of comes to the conclusion of what the disposition of the property is, if we're going to keep it, I think we got to really develop some structure.
yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree. And that's what just worried me about the contract. If they're not able to do that, we don't want to say that they're the exclusive.
Yeah, so we should, yeah, can we strike that?
Yeah,
And then there's the question of if they're not going to do that.
Yep.
Why not pay them?
So how do we hold their feet to the fire if we expect them, we expect them to advertise this place or to try and get it fully rented? And it's in their contract, but they haven't done it. So what do we do to make them do this?
I think it's two different things, right? The problem isn't that they're not getting it rented. They're getting it rented, but they're not growing businesses, providing help in how you start a business, getting people in that are starting businesses. They're filling the space with the bank and other businesses that may not even need incubation. They're just getting cheap rent.
Yeah, so again, when we pressed them on it, probably a year and a half ago, they said, oh, we are. And like Tracy says, they are doing something, but just that it wasn't to the extent that I was led to believe of it. I mean, they had a big, like a presentation of all the things that places are going to reach out to and try to promote the space. And I think it was a very soft type of marketing program.
So I think on the marketing side, the piece is maybe clarifying expectations, bringing that presentation back, bringing what they're doing back, and maybe having a conversation with them about where's that gap and what else do you expect from them?
Okay, so we don't have to agree this today. We have another month, right?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do we have another month?
I mean, it expires September 30th. Our next meeting is
It'll be
October 6th, so I don't
a few days out of.
issue.
So why don't you talk to Miles and maybe get some of this information and if, you know, I agree with David there, maybe we should strike that article or paragraph or whatever it is. So kind of keep it open for now.
Yep.
And then maybe ask for some clarification about the marketing.
If we are scrapping that, a consideration on the commission, right?
Sorry, what's that?
If we're scrapping that section of the agreement, maybe a consideration to bring the commission rate down a little bit. Or the monthly fee down a little bit. Because.
Yeah,
taking that out.
I think that monthly fee is really based on like managing the building.
Yeah.
I don't think it really even includes the business incubation services, but we can talk to them about that and just see if they're providing a consideration for that in that.
That would be an interesting conversation if they say, oh, if you take the scope out, we can't reduce the budget at all. Then it makes it clear that they're not spending anything on that scope.
Correct. It's.
Yeah, I think that what they're spending on that scope is really in terms of managing the leases that were in place prior and trying to correct those.
Which they
I don't
have done, which they have done, corrected a lot of,
Yeah.
cleaned up a lot of the garbage that was there.
I don't think that it's, and like trying to get those leases into a more stepped up structure. They're certainly not providing like business support. They're not providing like technical assistance in terms of here's how to do your accounting or here's who you talk to about XYZ. And I'm not sure to what extent that conversation happened before they took over and what the expectations were of them in that regard. Because I don't think Mancuso is doing that either.
I don't remember any of that.
I don't know what I don't know what the expectation was for that scope in the first place, I guess.
All right, so we'll table this till next meeting and we'll talk with Miles and for both then, okay? Budget. So we're gonna,
Do we want to just do just to cover that time in case there's a problem on there? And do we want to do a 1 month extension of the current lease or the current agreement or anything like that to?
that might be a good thing, just in case there's,
To give them
I
some
want to give it
comfort.
2 months in case there's questions next month.
That make sense?
Okay, all right, so we're gonna change the motion to extend the current contract for 2 months. Until we have time to discuss this.
I think just 1 month is fine.
What's that?
I think 1 month is fine.
Oh, if-
That'll get us into
because- is
October.
that so? Okay,
Yeah.
1 month extension. All right, we'll change to 1 month. All in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
I need a motion, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gotta get that, okay.
so moved.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right. All right.
Gotta get louder here. I can't hear everybody.
Next one is the bid request for funding. So
So the bid is looking to 2024 budgeting. The LDC did not officially approve this the other day. They kind of ran out of time, basically, but they took a straw poll in agreement with at least part of it. So what the bid is requesting, there's going to be about $29,000 from the current contract left over at the end of the year. So they are requesting to pull that over to 2024. And then they are asking for an additional about $13,000 split between the two organizations. The LDC felt comfortable carrying over the existing funding, but we didn't make any specific or approvals of the additional funding. I don't think they're going to have a problem with that as long as this board
didn't we
does
approve a
it.
2-year thing for 60,000?
No, we approved a 1-year thing for $60,000, $30,000 each.
I thought it was 2 for some reason.
We talked about that we might be willing to do something for a second year if they're still kind of working out the kinks of and like building up the staffing for the new landscaping, but it was only a 1-year contract.
But, okay, so that's where the money came. Okay. And they have been doing the work. I see that part of this, that they're gonna extend it up to 5 points up here with it. I notice I go by there often and it's like they stop. Okay, that's not in the VID. And so across the street where the library is and down Main Street, it's got weed. And in front of Burn Dairy. Those patches aren't done, and I see that they've included that. So that's encouraging. All right, any other discussion about, do we want to, I think there's two motions. One would be just to let them roll over the 29,000, the unused approved 29,000. And the second motion would be,
Yeah,
if we're okay with the 65.
you could do it as one motion. If you're okay with the 65, we could do it as one motion, just approving the request as is. If not, you would just amend the request to the rollover. So you could do it as one motion. Or two, whatever makes you happy.
Okay,
I could do one motion, I think.
I feel a little dumb even asking this question, but we didn't actually send any cash.
No, I've been sending down the LDC's cash.
You're right,
first.
right. That's what I just wanted to put that out there. So next year it will fall to,
Yes.
we will see that cash movement from Friday side. Not dumb.
No, you're not done.
It's real.
This all started with the LDC, so I figured I'd just spend down their cash first and.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
13's total, right?
Yes.
13 total, so 65 each. A motion to approve the use of the leftover money for this coming year and pay the overage that they're asking for is 6,500. Include that in the, I guess we'll take the total up to 35,000 from us next year, hopefully.
Nope, well, yeah,
It's
yeah,
30, 35,
Yeah.
36, something like that.
something like that.
Okay, I have a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second, RJ. So, okay, you want to vote on it? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so we pass it and give them. Okay. That's good. Okay, now the 2024 or 23-24 budget. Or this organization.
So that's in your packet. We discussed it with Irene this morning. And, just made one update since we think that the Nardozzi project closing is going to move into the next fiscal year. I would just propose one amendment to what's presented to increase the administrative fees to 128, 130. That includes both Trinity and Nardozzi closing fees. That puts the net at the bottom to 73,720.
And was that this morning?
What?
When was that? It's not, was
Oh,
it?
it's, yep, it's in the packet.
Very low. There it is. Yep, there it is.
Okay. I thought that was part of it. Yes, I did. I said, what's all this? It's not this.
So, you say
Yep,
73.
73,720 would be the net.
Okay.
The GEDC column was submitted by GEDC. Still showing a loss, but less so than last year's budget. And I don't think they're necessarily actually going to end the year with a loss, so.
Looks like they're ahead right now.
So they're being conservative.
Like a motion to approve the budget for 2020, 23, 24.
So moved.
Thank you, Irene. Second, Paul. Thank you.
I'll second it, sure.
And, okay, any discussion or questions of Tracy? About this?
Do you need a number in the resolution or,
I can just say as amended.
okay,
Okay, so the motion is to approve the budget as amended by Tracy. Okay. Discussion then, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so passed, thank you. Okay, so now we'd like to go into executive session to discuss the proposed sale or lease of real property. Need a motion to go into executive session. RJ made a motion, we'll second it.